Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Digital Banking Symposium. We are now on our last but not least agenda of this symposium, taking first steps into the world of FinTech, machine learning and AI. We have with us 4 esteemed speakers who will be expounding on the fundamentals of FinTech in an easy to understand manner as a prelude to the FinTech Foundation Programme. On the panel we have Jeanette Ooi, Data Science Lead, ASEAN, Solution Engineering Lead, Singapore, Oracle Corporation, Patrice Chung, Director, School of Infocom Technology, Ngee Polytechnic, Eileen Na, Head of OCBC Leadership, Future Smart and Customer Experience Faculties, OCBC Bank, and Chia Hock Lai, CEO, Switch Novate, and President of the Singapore FinTech Association. And without further ado, I will now hand my time over to the first speaker, please.
Can you help me play the video, please? Yeah. Moderator can help to play the introductory video.
Machine learning is an ever-expanding field that can benefit businesses of any size, level, and industry.
We have facial recognition, self-driving cars. All these are powered by artificial neural networks.
We use machine learning to identify patterns, test hypotheses, and support decision-making.
Data science studies are increasingly used to drive policy and operational decisions.
No matter which industry you're from, machine learning can be leveraged for smarter business decisions.
Hi, I'm Richie Ng. I'm the Chief AI Officer of Ensemble Capital.
I'm Elaine Liu, a data scientist at GovTech Singapore.
My name is Kenneth Su. Together with my good friend Annalyn Ng, we co-authored the book Nonsense Data Science for the Layman.
My name is Janet Ooi. I am the ASEAN Solution Engineering Lead for Data Science at Oracle. Welcome to Machine Learning for Humans.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I am Janet Ooi, Data Science Lead for ASEAN and Solution Engineering Lead for Singapore at Oracle Corporation. As you can see, I'm also one of the instructors in the Machine Learning for Humans, which is an online course developed by Ngee Polytechnic in partnership with SG Innovate. So I am excited to be doing this sharing with you today to debunk some of the myths around machine learning and also to help you get started with it, regardless of where you are in your journey, whether you're a student looking for a career in tech, a professional who is looking to shift, or maybe you're looking, just to grow within your current industry. So what's ironic is that as machine learning and the technology around it evolved, and as machine learning applications expand across businesses of all sizes and in industry, people are also getting more and more intimidated by it. So I am often asked, so how did you get into this data science field? Right. So when you were starting in your career, do you already know where you want to be and the path that you want to take? Do you really need to be good in statistics or math to be in data science? What does your day typically look like? Like, do you have to code every day? So let me try to answer these questions by sharing with you my journey. Okay, so my background is industrial and systems engineering. So I'm always fascinated by numbers, and I believe it is through numbers that I can make a difference in someone's life. And who knows, like maybe to the whole wild world someday, I could create an impact, a significant, I'll be lucky, and with some hard work, I'll have a big impact using numbers. So that's a big dream. So my first career breakthrough was actually in financial consulting. This is with a niche, but quite established company based in Singapore and also in New York. So at a very young age, I got the opportunity to travel to different parts of the world, from Asia, Europe, United States, even all the way to Africa, to work with different clients in a different industries like banks, retail, manufacturing, oil and gas, governments, insurance, telcos, you name it. So this got me really hooked, right? In a good way, of course, because as I work with different clients, I also realized that each problem is unique, and each requires a different approach or solution to make things work. So those days, a lot of my work was still done using Excel. So you could imagine I have to write my own calculations and formulas. And through time, like some software came out that helped me with all this work, but I still need to, leave them running overnight on my laptop to get the results the following day. And if I need to make some adjustments, I will have to do it again, leave it another night, and then I get the results the following day. So in 2014, with the rise of exponentially more powerful hardware and massive amounts of data, remember, big data was such an in thing then, right? So together with my mentor for several years, we decided to jump into the data science, machine learning, deep learning, and AI world to try to revolutionize the way we develop solutions using data and algorithms. It was an exciting startup journey for me, where I got to meet people who are not afraid to try new things and to really dream big. So now that I'm back in a corporate giant like Oracle, I used the learning from my startup days to leverage on more established technology and resources to craft solutions for clients. So on a day-to-day, the reason why data science and machine learning, I think, are so powerful is because it allows ideas to be proven empirically rather than theoretically. So the data and analytics combination really allows you to get objective answers. So I'm a person who doesn't like arguing with people. So with data science, it puts me really at a clear advantage. I don't have to argue, I just show numbers, right? So it's easier, makes my life a lot easier. So coding, working with numbers and equations, doing calculations, of course, these are part of the job, but they are not the only thing you need to do. I think more importantly, what you need on a day-to-day is that problem solving, that critical thinking, that experience working with different people, customers, the interaction, and those eureka moments. These are what really make the job exciting. So back to the questions. Do you need to be a genius in math or stats to start machine learning or data science? The answer is no. Just like me, you can be an ordinary human being with an appreciation for numbers and what it can do, and somebody who loves to dream, right? So is there a definite path to data science? Not in my case. As you could see from my journey, I am where I am today because of the realizations, the trial and errors that I made along the way. But if you notice, one thing is really clear: the passion to make a difference, the drive to achieve goals and results, being bold enough to try new things, even if it's outside your comfort zone, dreaming big, and most importantly, having fun, right? So do you have to code and work with algorithms every day when you are a data scientist? The answer is also no. So I always like to use the analogy of cooking. Data science is like cooking. The algorithms and the data are like your ingredients, right? So the technology around it, like the data storage, the compute, the GPUs, and all the cool stuff, these are like your pots and pans, your tools. So how good your dish turns out to be depends on the quality of your ingredients. In the case of data science, it's the quality of your data, right? So how you cook them and how you put them together. And most important of all, but oftentimes forgotten, it also depends on why you are cooking in the first place and for whom are you cooking the dish. Do you cook because you're having a party, or is it because you're craving for something, right? Or simply because you want to prepare your own food because you want to be healthy? So answers to these questions will determine how your dish will look like and how it will taste. So as you practice, it gets easier each time. You tend to get more and more familiar as to how each spice affects the taste of the dish. So just the same thing in data science. As you get to understand more about each algorithm or technique, right? So what each methodology does, you also become faster in terms of solutioning, right? So you might have all these questions like, is Python better than R? Which language should I use? Should I go with stats? Or what should I go with? Deep learning, machine learning, AI? Which one should I go with? So it really doesn't matter, but it really depends on what you want to use it for. So hope by now I have convinced you enough about the right mindset to embark on this machine learning journey. So now you may ask, so what projects can I do in the financial industry? What if I shift to another industry? So let's look at the financial industry first, right? So there are so much things that you can do with machine learning. Machine learning can be applied to reduce operational costs, to automate a lot of the processes in your departments, in your scope of work. Machine learning can also be used to increase revenues through improved productivity and enhanced customer experience. A lot of this depends on the use of machine learning to profile customers and also to calculate credit risk. So this is very useful in banks and insurance companies. I'm sure some of you might have heard about like robo-investors, robo-advisors. This is really an online wealth management solution that uses algorithms and statistics to allocate, manage, and optimize a client's assets. So in the near future, banks and insurance companies, all these companies within the FSI industry are also expected to collaborate more with other players in the field like the telcos and even the utility companies. And this is to really leverage on customer data sets to be able to predict behaviors better and to offer, better experience to them. So most importantly today, machine learning can also be used for better compliance and reinforce security. So this is a big thing. Security threats in finance are increasing along with the growing number of transaction, users, and third-party integrations. So machine learning algorithms are excellent at detecting frauds. Machine learning can also be applied to flag money laundering activities. So basically, it can be applied anywhere as long as you have data. And the financial industry has tons of data, both historical and current, in different parts of the organizations, regardless of whether you are in IT, you're in HR, you're in sales, you're in marketing. You wouldn't run out of projects to do. And in terms of tools, you can also start off with so many available tools out there, both open source and paid. So which one should you go with, right? So this really depends, again, on what you intend to do. If you're just exploring, then yes, of course, open source tools might be sufficient. Then later on, you can get to work with your ID teams, your technical teams, to make sure that you have sufficient and secure infrastructure to deploy your prototypes and your ideas. So, however, if you're up against time and you're working on mission critical projects and you need some reliable support in case something fails or stops working, then you might want to go with paid licenses or subscriptions, or more of those out-of-the-box solutions that you can readily use. So vendors like Oracle, Microsoft, Google, and many other different companies would have already spent millions in R&D to make sure that the technology works. So therefore, you don't have to worry about recreating the wheel and doing your own product testing, your own R&D. It would really be tough, for your DIY or do-it-yourself products to outperform what is already out there and have already been tested. So should you shift to another industry later on, whatever you have learned or done won't go to waste, really. So going back to the cooking analogy that I have, you would need to just tweak your recipe a bit. So what I want to show in this picture is that I really want to just summarize what I have shared in this short and simple sharing with this. I want to summarize it with this diagram. So what's important to start the machine learning journey is really to have a clear vision or goal and a strong determination. most of the time, this determination is driven by your passion. So these are prerequisites for you to deliver some valuable learning, like valuable machine learning projects. Then you could leverage the now very cheap data storage, cloud compute, and all relevant technology out there. So you can access many free data sets to start your experimentation. Like, for example, you have Kaggle and hundreds of other sites where you could download sample data legally, right? You have the GitHub and many other community platforms out there where you can collaborate and share projects, where you could test, you could share some already developed packages and algorithms that others have built, so you don't have to do everything from scratch. You also have many learning platforms where you can learn everything from statistics to programming to big data at various levels of complexities. Just take, for example, the Machine Learning for Humans course. This has been specially curated to laymanize and simplify a lot of the seemingly daunting concepts or ideas of machine learning. So the course content has gone through several iterations to make sure that we have captured the right balance of the theory and applications. So the Ngee and Poly Sandbox team has also done an amazing job adding in animations and effects to make the learning experience really fun and easy. So in today's world, and especially in Singapore, you will never run out of resources and support groups. I am really confident that with the right mindset, which I have shared, and access to such valuable resources, you will be faced with unbounded possibilities and opportunities in your respective roles. So on behalf of my co-instructors in the Machine Learning for Humans and the whole team from the Ngee and Poly Sandbox, we wish to thank you all for your time if you have already taken the course, and we wish you all the best in your machine learning journey. For those who are still thinking when or how to start, remember all you need is a passion to learn and to make a difference through data and technology. Okay, with that, this is the end of my presentation, and stay tuned for the next speaker, Elena from OCBC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Janet, for that inspiring presentation. Hello, everybody. I'm Elena from the OCBC Bank campus team. I head up Future Smart leadership and customer experience within the campus. It is my honor today to be here to share with you our journey in terms of developing in-house talent during uncertain times. I think more importantly, I'd like to perhaps share with all of you, the landscape that we are living in today. I think many of you would agree with me that we are certainly living in uncertain times. For many years, industries have been disrupted, and we have to adapt and be really agile in the way we work and the way we think about solving problems around the world. More importantly, I think in OCBC Bank, we have been thinking about this problem as well, and thinking about how do we not just survive, but be able to thrive in the future world. So with that, and with that problem that we have been thinking about, we decided on one key area that we like to focus on, and that is to solve the talent war. I think many of you would agree with me that talent is always scarce, particularly if we are talking about the technological advancements that has been happening around us today. We are constantly looking for people who are great in not just data, but AI, machine learning, FinTech, and many more. So today, I'll be sharing with you how do we think about the problem and how are we looking to solve this problem. Next slide. So back in 2018, this is where we decided that in order to solve this talent war, there is one thing that we need to do. That is, as an organization, we do need to be committed in how we are looking to develop our employees in skills that's meant for the future and in skills that will help them to be able to transform and adapt to as the world changes, and as roles changes. So with that in mind, OCBC decided that we will invest $20 million back in 2018 to train all our employees in digital skills for over 3 years. Now, the framework is very simple. It comprises 7 pillars and 4 proficiency levels. If you look at the pillars that is on your screen right now, it comprises 5 skill sets and 2 mindset pillars. The first 5 pillars that you see from your left are what we call the skill set pillar, starting from digital business models and ecosystems, tech and data, new risk, customer centricity, marketing and comms. So these are the 5 key skill sets that we strongly believe is critical in building core fundamentals in our people and core competencies that will help them to do their current role and the future role. But more importantly, we strongly believe that the mindset is equally, if not more important. So that's where we have 2 other pillars, and we call those the mindset pillars. And that is the way we work and leadership in the future world. Because we believe that our people, not just where they have the fundamentals, they also need to learn, new ways of thinking, new ways of adapting, and new ways of leading the organization. And that's where the 2 mindset pillars are then born. So we also want to give our people the sense of progression. And we know that we have great people in here who would have different levels of proficiency and different starting point. That's why the 4 proficiency levels will give them a sense of progression as they move from awareness to literacy to practitioner and to mastery. So we do a lot of work behind the scene. And I think we only have one objective in mind. That is, we want to upskill, reskill, and upgrade the skill sets of our people. But as the world changes and as the world evolves, we do want to ensure that every single one of our employees would have the opportunity to upgrade themselves, and that as the world changes, they will be able to constantly stay relevant and not be left behind. That's why internally we have this tagline, and we say in whatever that we do, we want to ensure that no one is left behind. So that's the hashtag leave no one behind. So with that, in mind, this is where we gave birth to the data certification pathway. So I spoke about roles transformation. As the world evolves and as the skill set evolve, this is where we decided to think about what are the critical roles that is important for our organization and that is also important for employees to develop themselves in. We thought hard about this, and as part of campus and as part of the learning team, we all know that we provide learning solutions to our organization. But more importantly, we decided that it cannot be a one-stop, it cannot be, something that we do once off, rather. So it has to be a journey because we are looking to our people to be role ready. So what do we mean by role ready? That means that they will be able to perform an enhanced role with tasks that they might not have done before, or be able to jump into a role that is totally new and they have never tried that before. With that, and with the talent wall out there, that's where we decided that why not we build a certification pathway which looks at building practitioners that is not just relevant for OCBC Bank, but is also pegged to industry standard that has a lot of rigor in the way we implement, and that is of value to not just the organization, but perhaps also to the world out there. So with that, our journey, our strategy is to build in-house data talents. So in 2019, in July, we went through a really rigorous process. And I must say the journey has not been easy because it is the first time where we are doing something like this and we don't really have a model that is out there for us to reference to. This is where, through a lot of conversations internally and with our selected partner, Ngee Poly, we decided to build the data certification pathway with the aim to groom 200 data analysts and data scientists over 3 years. Now, you might be wondering, why do you need 3 years? I will share with you a little bit more on what the structure of the program is. But importantly, I think the partnership with our government bodies and the associations out there, such as SSG in this case, is also very important, because with their support, we are able to also roll out this program successfully since last year. So the picture that you see right now comprises Clarence T, who is the principal of Ngee Poly, our head of HR, our head of group HR, Mr. Jason Ho, and of course, the deputy CEO of SSG. Next slide. So some people has asked us the question, how did you do it? Because this is a really comprehensive program, and you are looking to build someone to become from a non-data person to be able to perform a data analyst or a data scientist role. How does this work? So we landed on one key thing, and that is stakeholders. Now, I think, very importantly for us, we knew that we can't do this alone, right? So within the organization, we decided to tap on our own data specialist. So we had Donald McDonald, who is our head of consumer data analytics and the AI lab, plus several other subject matter experts who are actually working with us on this program, together with Ngee Poly, who brings with them the academic rigor, but also the industry and the network that they have out there. At the same time, from the campus standpoint, more importantly, we need to be the glue and the connector with Ngee Poly and our organization. Now, this pathway takes up to 18 months to complete. Imagine you are someone with no data background at all, and you are put on this program, and we tell you that between 12 to 18 months, you will be skilled up to become a data analyst or a data scientist. It's no mean feat, and it can be really daunting. But we want to make sure that our people are supported at every part of that journey. And that is where we've designed the program in such a way that they not only is able to, I wouldn't say take their time, but they are guided at every single step of the way in completing what is required in order for them to become a qualified data analyst or data scientist. Now, this cannot happen without the ecosystem. And when I say ecosystem, it refers to the internal ecosystem and the external ecosystem. The internal ecosystem is very much made up of the managers of the participants that are attending this program, because the managers will need to be very committed to the development journey of their people as well. That is why it's a huge investment, and that is why we take a very serious and committed stance for the managers and for the participants to say, if you're on this journey, you need to take this seriously. But what we can guarantee you is, at the end of it, you will be a qualified data analyst or data scientist. So come with us on this journey and follow through. With that is where you will see something very different for yourself and for the team that they are in. So with that, I would like to now have Patrice to share with us the value of a certification.
Thank you, Eileen, for introducing us and introducing the data certification pathway. I still remember when we first had this discussion, it was a very tall order given to Ngee Poly to ensure that we are able to train 200 of the OCBC staff into data analysts and data scientists. It started with us with a question: what is the value of a certificate? If we want to really train somebody into a role and people go for courses, and at the end of a course, they all receive a certificate. We have to ask ourselves the basic questions. When a staff goes for a course and receive a certification, what is the value of that certification for the staff and also for the employees outside? We believe that if we solve this particular question, it may give us a good way to, a good frame to start planning for the data certification pathway that OCBC was aspiring to have. Yeah, if I can have the next slide. So we believe that the value of a certificate is that essentially it is a signal of competence. When somebody completes a course and get a certificate, it signals to the employers, to the industry, that that person has achieved a certain level of competence. Now, there are two parts of it, signaling and competency. And if my 15 over years of training and education, we always say that there's a gap between the academia and the industry. And we try to close that gap. So competence, we need to find a way of how best we can close the gap between formal training and what the industry expects, the gap between academia and industry. So this is a question that we try to solve in the construct of the data certification. The signaling also is important. And for a signal to be reliable, accurate, and trusted, we need to think what are the attributes of a signal that allows a signal to be reliable, accurate, and trusted. So I'll give you an example. If you see somebody graduated from, let's say, from Mara Institute of Technology, and somebody graduated from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, suddenly the level of trustedness differs because of the origin of that certification. So every certification carries with it a certain brand, a certain trustworthiness. Is the certification accurate in measuring the competence? Is it reliable? We try to solve all these questions with two design elements that we have included in the data certification pathway. And the first one, next slide. The first one is we decided to have an academic staff and an industry practitioner to co-teach together for the classes. In this way, we can ensure that every curriculum that is rolled out, it both has an academic rigor and an industry relevance, both of it, right? So no longer we have, oh, this is academia and it's away from the industry standard, but having both in the classroom, we ensure that it has the best teacher and the best industry practitioner, the best of both worlds. And this is how we have designed all the courses in data certification pathway. Oftentimes you see the curriculum is designed by both a practitioner and an academic person, but at the same time, it is delivered with two persons in the classroom so that we provide both elements. The second element, design element that we have put into the curriculum is, if you can go to the next slide, the signaling element. So unlike typical courses, the projects, all the projects and hands-on element that the students need to do, the candidates do as part of the course, they are not assessed by academic staff. They are assessed by not one, but a panel of industry practitioners. So every course that they take under the data certification pathway, there's a project at the end. And the project is graded by a panel of 4 to 5 industry practitioners across, on a 5-point scale, across 4 or 5 attributes, depending on the nature of the projects. This allows us to do a few things. First, it allows us to quantify the signal. How far am I as a candidate? How far am I from the industry standard? From the industry practitioner's perspective, I may score very well on some attributes and not so well on other attributes, but at least I know as a candidate completing a course where I'm strong at and where I am weaker at. So we curate this panel of industry practitioners that does nothing but look through the codes of every project by the candidates and then rate them based on the 5 attributes that we have selected. And this will help us make the signal a little bit more reliable, measured, accurate, but also trusted, because it comes directly from the industry practitioners. Next slide. And that is how we build this whole pathway. So with these 2 main design elements, we then construct the structure of how the various skill sets, the various theories, and the various concepts are stacked together to form from a foundation to a data analyst to then a data scientist. But all of the courses having these 2 curriculum design elements. Next slide. And we call it data school internally, where we guide every candidate into becoming a data analyst or a data scientist with a combination of academic rigor and industry relevance. Thank you. Eileen, back to you.
Thank you very much, Patrice, for sharing with us the construct of the data certification pathway. Now that we have shared the why, the what, and the how of the data certification pathway, let me share with you our journey up to this point. Now, if you remember in an earlier slide, we said that we launched in July 2019. And in fact, interestingly or excitingly, something occurred to us. Something happened in the world, rather. So back in December, I don't know if all of you remember, there was already some news about, some virus that was going around in one of the country, all right, which we all know what it is. But nobody really knows what is that about. But come January in 2020, that's where we begin to realize that, hey, maybe this is something that we should really take a more serious look. And that is where my team and I decided to say, let's take a pause and look at what's happening out there. And why do we want to take that pause? It is because we have one very clear objective. That is, whatever that's happening, we do not want it to stop learning. And we do not want it to disrupt whatever that we have planned for our people in terms of getting themselves certified to be a data analyst or a data scientist. So with that, in just before DOSCON turned orange in Singapore, our team then decided, hey, let's think about alternative and options. Should we not be able to run our classes physically in a classroom, what are we going to do? And we do not know how long is this going to last. How long it's going to last is anybody's best guess. And I guess for us as a team, together with Ngee Poly, we decided that we shall not play the waiting game. Let me put it this way. Yeah, we do not want to play the waiting game. So this is where within 2 weeks, this is, the team just got together with our trainers to say, can we do this virtually? Now, there's 2 criteria that we need to look at. Can or cannot, should or should not. Well, in every program and in every development opportunity that we provide to our people, there are always different elements and considerations that we need to think about. So first question that we ask ourselves is, can this program or can all the modules be turned into a virtual mode? All right. And if so, is it going to impact the kind of outcomes, the kind of objectives that we have originally planned. And we need to ensure that there's a lot of rigor and discipline in the way we run it. The other criteria is should or should not. And that talks about the learning experience, because we do want to ensure that although the contents are delivered in an effective way, how is that learning experience like? And we need to, ensure that our learners have the optimal environment to be able to learn and apply the skills that they have just learned, that they have just garnered. So with that, we landed on yes, the modules in the data certification pathway can be virtualized, and yes, we should virtualize it because we have some confidence in managing the learning experience. But more importantly, we think that we should do it because we do not know what is going to happen. We do not know how long this wait is going to be. That's why we decided to take the plunge and pivoted everything to virtual. So the journey has been difficult, I must say, but together with the strong partnership that we have with Ngee Ann Poly, the trainers, and the industry experts, we managed to turn everything virtual, and we have received very, very positive feedback. In fact, some people have told us that they love the learning virtually because this is where they get to see some flexibility and they were able to adapt to the different learning requirements that's needed. So with that, I'd like to actually share with you a video on how campus has gone virtual, because the data certification pathway is one example of how we have gone virtual. But I think more importantly, from an organization standpoint, we want to ensure that nothing can stop learning. So let us please take a look at the video and you'll see how we have gone virtual. Thank you. I hope you have seen some of the benefits of how going virtual has actually helped us as an organization to be able to bring learning to our people. But more importantly, we are also able to tap into the larger ecosystem and bring together international thought leaders and experts around the world for our people. Now, this year, what is really notable and what we are really happy about is that the data certification pathway is also recognized and accredited by the Institute of Banking and Finance. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with IBF, and it is Earlier on, I talked about the SSG support, the support that we've gotten from SSG for this program. And this year, despite the many things that has disrupted all of us, we managed to have this program to be the first to be accredited. So like our head of group HR in the bank has said, Mr. Jason Ho, we want to ensure that our people continue to be role ready, and we want to continue to invest in our people with the deep competencies that's needed for the roles of today and the roles of tomorrow. And very importantly, we are also very glad and honored to have Mr. Namsin to actually demonstrate his support for the programs that we are running in OCBC. So with that, we have ended our presentation today. I hope we have given you some key insights in terms of how we, as a bank, has tackled the talent war, but more importantly is how we have collaborated and gone through several challenges in order to make this happen. So thank you very much for listening in. Now I will hand over to Mr. Chia Hock Lai to share with us about the FinTech program.
Thank you, Eileen, and thank you, Janet and Patrice. I think I'm having the last session to talk about the FinTech Foundation Programme, which is a collaboration between the Singapore FinTech Association and Polytechnic. But I thought that after 2 days of listening to various keynote speeches and panel discussion, I thought it's good to let the audience, especially those who are keen in the FinTech industry, to know a little bit more about the profiles of a FinTech company in Singapore. So I'll start with a short presentation about the profile of FinTech companies in Singapore. Okay, by now all of you will have known that Singapore started our Smart Nation journey in 2014, and the Monetary Authority of Singapore decided that a smart nation will need a smart financial center, whereby technologies are being used pervasively to improve efficiency, create more opportunities, manage risk better, and create a better life for all the residents. And FinTech is strategic to Singapore because as the world's leading international financial centers are also leading FinTech capitals. The likes of London and New York City are prime examples. And the other opportunities that we have is that due to our geographical proximity to ASEAN, which has a population size of 640 million, and flanked by both China, 1.4 billion in population, and India, 1.3 billion. So for the next decade, I think there will be a lot of opportunities in this space. And over the last 5 years, I think Singapore has achieved a lot in terms of FinTech development. Today, up to 45% of all the FinTech firms operating in ASEAN are based in Singapore. And in 2019, we achieved equity funding in FinTechs of about 1.2 billion. And I heard that for the first 9 months in this year, we already exceeded 1.2 billion. So this year is going to be another record year despite of COVID-19. I think one of the reasons is because most of our FinTech companies in Singapore are B2B, and B2B FinTech companies are more resilient during this period because it is because of COVID-19. Now a lot of financial institutions are looking to undergo a digital transformation. Yeah. Another thing is that what makes Singapore different is that we are able to get financial institutions to set up innovation labs. In fact, Singapore has 40 innovation labs. So a lot of R&D for financial products and services are conducted in Singapore for this region. We are also fast becoming a FinTech investment hub. Over the last few years, we managed to get more than 150 venture capital firms to set up in Singapore, which is why we are seeing that record number in terms of fintech investments. Compared to 2015, when there were fewer than 100 fintech firms, today Singapore has about 1,000 fintech companies. About 80% of them are members of Singapore FinTech Association, and the fintech industry employs about 10,000 workers. And we have one of the world's largest fintech festival every year. Last year, 60,000 attendees from 140 countries attended. So in 2019, last year, we conducted a survey together with PwC on the fintech companies in Singapore. So Singapore is a bit unique in this region because we are considered a mature economy, and we have a very broad range of fintech companies operating in Singapore. Because unlike our neighboring countries, which are more predominantly payments or lending companies, we have InsurTech, we have RegTech, we have a lot of B2B companies doing AI and machine learning and cybersecurity and blockchain. And being a very young industry, 75% of the fintech firms are less than 5 years old. And in terms of funding profile, I think over the years, when we started the fintech journey, most of the funding are in seed funding. But I think over the last 2 years, a lot of fundings are in Series A, B, and C. And just now, as I shared, more than 80% of our fintech companies have a B2B component. Yeah, they are either a B2B, B2B2C, or both B2B and B2C. And most of the fintech companies are very positive about the growth prospect of fintech industry, despite COVID-19. And then another very interesting statistic is that when we interviewed the founders of the fintech firms, 87% indicated that they recruited candidates through personal connections and recommendations. So basically, if you want to work in the fintech industry, do network. There are a lot of meetup events, especially those organized by the Singapore FinTech Association. Yeah, so do go out and meet. It's not just about acquiring knowledge and skills. It's very important to network within the ecosystem. Followed by 78.5%, which is through online job portal. Later, I will briefly share about the FinTech job portal that Singapore FinTech Association has launched in July. And another very interesting stat is that the profile of roles for a typical fintech company in Singapore, the fintech companies are basically tech-driven. So between 40 to 60% of their roles are technological roles, especially those related to software and application development. But there are also non-technology roles, things like sales and marketing, business development are important. Operations roles, HR roles are also there. Yeah, so if you want to know more about the kind of jobs available in the fintech industry, you can visit the SFA job portal. This is a URL. I think let me briefly run through. Okay, so this is the SFA job portal. So besides listing of jobs, right, over here you can browse a list of training programs and courses related to the fintech industry, or even the various government grants and schemes available, or the SG United Skills program, whether is it on the full stack development offered by NUS, or blockchain development offered by the Blockchain Association Singapore and Singapore Poly, and a few others. Yeah, So next, I will go to the FinTech Foundation Programme. Yeah, so basically this is a foundation program about 20 hours for people who are not very sure that they dive deeper into the FinTech industry. You can, through this program, understand what is the FinTech industry more about. Yeah, this is the brochure. As you can see, we actually have a pathway for those who are interested in the FinTech industry. After the FinTech Foundation Program, you can actually consider upgrading to a FinTech Fundamentals Program, which is 60 hours. And then you get the Fundamentals Program, you'll get to learn more about the technological components of FinTech, whether is it AI and machine learning, big data, cloud computing, blockchain. And also you will learn about things like business model canvas, value proposition canvas, and FinTech strategy. And then before you do a hackathon project. And then for those who like to deep dive further, we have the FinTech Deep Dive series, whether is it blockchain or even big data and AI. As for the FinTech Foundation Program, it is 20 hours. So basically, for the first 8 hours or day one, you'll get to learn about what is FinTech, what is driving FinTech, what are different business models, what are the successful case studies of organizations that has went through, undergone the FinTech transformation. And during this module, you will get to hear from a lot of the industry practitioners, especially those FinTech founders, about the various FinTech business models available in the market, whether is it robo-advisors or P2P lending. Then for the next 8 hours, you will go through design thinking. By now, you will have known that for FinTech companies, there's a lot of emphasis on customer experience. And a lot of them adopt design thinking on designing their financial services products and processes. Yeah, so this is a very hands-on session, and you will be doing a lot of activities in the group. Last but not least, we will teach you another 4 hours on introduction to blockchain and cryptocurrency, because this is something that is up and coming. You would have heard about that China is now piloting their central bank digital currency. And last week, DBS is also exploring digital assets business. Yeah, so through this introduction to blockchain and cryptocurrency, you'll learn more about the underlying technology, which is blockchain technology. So with that, let me see. Okay, okay, with that, I end my session. I think before we end, I would like to invite our speakers Eileen, Patrice, and Janet. Probably it's good that you all share some last words to the attendees for this session. Yeah, maybe start with Eileen.
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Hotline. So I think, when I'm asked to actually share one piece of advice for everyone here, I always go with learning. So all of you, some of you might remember Albert Einstein has once said this: once you stop learning, you start dying. But I like to actually flip this around to say, when you keep learning, you keep growing. So that is what I'd like to leave with everybody here. That is, in order to stay resilient, in order to stay agile in this new world that we're living in today, we need to keep learning so that we will keep growing. Thank you.
Maybe I'll
share. We have Patrice next.
Yes. I think just about 10 to 15 years ago, there used to be two types of people. They say there used to be the geeks, the nerds, and then the regular people. But I think today there's no such distinction. Everybody should get involved in tech because tech has become really part of our lives. So if you're listening out there and you're not involved, I will strongly encourage you to get involved. That's the future. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I add to what Patrice shared. Like, I think after hearing all the presentations today, most of the viewers will be assured that in terms of the support system, in terms of the resources that you have, access to learning, access to people, mentors, and everything, you're very lucky to have them all, especially here in Singapore, where you have all the support that you need. So there's really no excuse for you to not get started and embark on this journey in tech, in machine learning, and all the cool, fun stuff that could help you do really exciting things. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I think I'll hand over to the MC to close off the session.
Thank you very much to our 4 speakers, and as Mr. Chia very nicely summed up, for both the session and our digital banking symposium, how fintech has transformed the industry and businesses, it is now critical for one to be kept up to date to acquire the necessary skill sets to pivot to the new digital economy. And with that, the Digital Banking Symposium 2020 is now concluded. On behalf of the Singapore FinTech Association and the Banking and Financial Services Union, I would like to thank everyone who has played a part in this symposium. A special thank you to our guest of honor who spoke on day 1, Mr. Ng Chi Meng, Secretary General of the National Trades Union Congress. And a special thank you to Huawei Cloud, our grand sponsors for this symposium. Our gold sponsors, Acuity, Aerome, Clifford Chance, FICO, Finastra, Goldbell Financial, and R3 for your contributions to making this symposium possible. Our presenters and speakers over the past 2 days for readily contributing your expertise and insightful sharings with all of our attendees. And last but not least, thank you to every single one of our attendees who have tuned in over the last 2 days. The recorded sessions will still be available on demand for the next month on this website, so do visit us again if you would like to rewatch any of the sessions. And with that, thank you everyone and have a good evening ahead. Bye bye.